On December 19th, 2010, the Minnesota Vikings are going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our great franchise. And it's been a great franchise with the greatest characters that the world's ever seen. I mean, the players I played with were just some kind of characters, and I'll never forget them. But I'm a third-round draft choice out of Georgia. I grew up in Athens, Georgia, and they drafted me up in Minnesota. It's a new expansion team. They never played a game of football before. I didn't even know where Minnesota was. And we go to training camp in Bemidji, Minnesota. Now, keep in mind, no expansion team had ever won a game in their first year. The year before, the Dallas Cowboys came into the league with Tom Landry at the coach and Don Meredith at quarterback, and they didn't win a game in their first year. We went to Bemidji to work out, and we got a bunch of ragamuffin old players that are either over the hill or too short or too slow and lost their mojo. Because here's how we got our team made up. The rest of the teams have a 40-man roster. And so what they did is freeze their 34 top players. And then they're not 34 top players, but they froze the 34. We got to pick 3 of the bottom 6. You can imagine what kind of team we had, right? And that's why expansion teams never won. We played 5 exhibition games, lost all 5. Played the Chicago Bears 2 weeks before we were going to play them for the regular season opener. Lost by 4 touchdowns. And we're going to play the Bears opening day. They're the most successful team in football at that era. Their coach, general manager, and owner was the same person, George Halas. Oh, by the way, he was the founder of the National Football League, so he knew all the tricks. And we had been together for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks to play the Bears. We had no chance. 28-point underdogs. We not only beat them, we wore them out. Beat them 37-13. I was a 21-year-old quarterback, wet behind the ears, and I completed 17 of 21 passes for 237 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for another. Now, I don't remember much about it, but you can imagine I was just thrilled. We won 2 more games that season. We beat John Unitas and the Colts. This franchise went to 4 of the first 11 Super Bowls, and our players played forever. Jim Marshall played for 19, 20 years without missing a game, and Mick Tingelhoff 17 years, and I played 18, and Alan played 16, and so we were all played a long time. And we all showed up every week. And this was the greatest band of characters, and I love them. And I revere them. And the coach, Bud Grant, I learned more from him than I have from anybody else in all the world. He's got more sense than anybody I've ever known. I think about him every day. And so now they're going to have the reunion, and I don't go back to these things normally because my day's over. I don't want to infringe on the platform that the current Minnesota Viking players have. Let them have the stage. The stage left, and I have another life over here, but I have great memories of it. So, of course, they wanted me to go, and I sent a letter back to the Wilf brothers who own the team and said, I'm not going to be able to go, but thanks for the invitation. A few days later, I get a call from Bud Grant. Now, Bud Grant is never one to be a phone guy or smooze guy, and I haven't got a phone call from Bud Grant in 40 years. And people say to me sometimes, well, don't you ever pick up the phone to call Bud? I said, no, he'd think I'm crazy. But I think about him every day, and I think he probably thinks about me most every day. He's 83 years old now. So phone rings, and Jill, my secretary of 18, 19, 20 years, she comes in and says, Bud Grant's on the phone. I said, you're kidding me? You can't be on the phone. I stopped everything I was doing. And so I said, Bud, this you? He said, yep. He said, you know why I'm calling you? I said, Bud, it's not to smooze with me. It's not to ask me how I'm doing, because you hadn't called me in 40 years. I know you got an agenda, and I know exactly why you're calling. And I did. He said, we're going to have this reunion. He said, the good thing about the reunion is that they're going to have the top 50 players, and you and I, or top 50 Vikings, and you and I on the top 50. I said, really, Bud? I'm so surprised that you're one of the top 50. Now, he should be number 1 and is, because he turned the franchise around. So we had a little laugh at that. He said, the other good news is that of the 50 players we're going to recognize, 49 of them are still alive. and all 49 are coming to the reunion, but you and me. Now, he's clever, isn't he? I got it. I know what he's doing. And he's got me. And I said, well, why aren't you going, bud? He said, well, I'm not going unless you go. I had no way out, did I? I said, okay, I'm coming. If he'd have said, well, why aren't you coming? Anything. He got me. Now, he had another caveat, but I have to tell you a story to get to the caveat. Years ago, I always stood around him on the sideline or wherever, and I asked him questions because everything he said made sense. But he's a great dog trainer. He's a great outdoorsman. He's a great hunter, and he's a legendary dog trainer. So one Saturday morning, Saturday before we play a game, we play. We have casual workouts and we have coffee and donuts on Saturday morning. So I go into the coach's office and Bud's there with those crystal blue eyes. I said, Bud, I got a problem. I got this great German Shepherd. I love German Shepherds. And I brought him up here. He's got all the pedigree and German history and smart, big, beautiful dog. And my dogs stay in the house. And I always housebreak the Shepherds, never have any problem. And I can't get this dog housebroken. I did this and this and this and this. But you got to help me. What do I do? He looked at me in those great blue eyes. He says, shoot him. I said, what? He said, shoot him. You'll do the breed a real favor. And he was, that was his answer. I'll never forget it. Back to the conversation. Now, I've told him I'm coming back. He's happy about that, I think. So he says to me then, he says, Fran, I want to ask one more favor of you. I said, yeah? What's that, Bud? He said, I've got this 14-year-old dog that I need to put down, and when you come up here, I'd like you to shoot him for me. Bud Grant, people think he has no personality or no sense of humor. He's got all the personality and all the sense of humor and the most knowledge of any man I've ever known. And I can't wait to see him and Jerry Burns and all the great players of the Vikings to celebrate this last 50 years of this great franchise.